Hello, Keith. Dave.
Mayor, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Yourself?
Living the dream.
Very good. Are we about ready to start? Jay, are you ready for us? I guess that silence means a yes.
Yes, we're ready for you.
All right. I'd like to call to order this CRA meeting this May the 7th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Tonight's meetings will be conducted using communications media technology as authorized by executive order of the governor during this current pandemic. We appreciate your patience and assure you that we remain committed to providing the public a fair and reasonable opportunity to participate in these meetings. We sincerely appreciate your continued understanding as we work through this temporary manner of conducting meetings. To tonight's meeting participants, as the presiding officer, I request that each member or designated staff member request that they be recognized by me before speaking. I will do my best to quickly recognize and call upon you. All participants should use the mute function and only unmute yourself when you seek to be recognized to speak and while you are speaking. Please remember that this meeting is being broadcast to the public, and therefore we request that you eliminate any background distractions you may have at your location. Prior to the council taking final action on any agenda item, applicants or members of the public who are present in the public access area will be recognized to address the council. Applicants and members of the public who have pre-registered to address the specific agenda item through communications media technology will be recognized to address the council, and email or written statements that have been timely submitted will be read into the record. With that, we call this to order. Could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll? You may need to unmute your mic.
Chair Nathan Blackwell.
Here.
Vice Chair Lynette Matheny.
Here.
Member David Askew.
Here.
Member Chuck Cooper. Absent. Member Keith Trace.
Here.
Member Joel Davis. Absent. Member Dwight Loading.
Here.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda are the approval of our minutes from the February 6th, 2020 meeting. First of all, are there any corrections or additions that anyone has noted needs to be made to the minutes? If not, could I entertain a motion to approve the minutes? Wait a minute. We have a motion to approve from Councilmember Askew.
Second.
Right.
And we have a second from Deputy Mayor Matheny. That brings us to our staff report update item. The first item on the agenda is
Mayor, excuse me. Mayor,
yes.
you need to take a vote on your motion. On the motion to approve the minutes.
Say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it is unanimous. Thank you. That brings us to our next item, our report and update. The first item is the Mackinson's Building Parsons Group purchase and sale agreement. Are you wanting to speak?
Mr. Mayor, this is Andre Anderson.
I'm sorry, Andre.
Thank you. Andre Anderson, Community Development Director. This is an item that was presented to the CRA at our February 6th meeting, where we presented a few letters of intent to purchase the Mackinson's building. And the CRA reviewed 3 proposals and then made a motion for staff to pursue discussions with 226 Broadway Kissimmee LLC, otherwise referred to as the Parsons Group. And the city attorney has since done that, and we are proceeding to bring this forward to you for your approval. You recall this company is currently in the city of Kissimmee, and they have some experience with historic preservation and so on, and are proposing to present a similar restaurant bar concept here for this property. The terms of the agreement that was presented to you back then was for an offer of $450,000. It was part of a 1031 exchange. Their deposit at that time was indicated to be $22,500. There's a 45-day due diligence and then closing in 45 days thereafter. Just by way of comparison, the things that we have done with respect to that property is that the CRA made a purchase of the property for $381,112. We incurred some costs for building stabilization of approximately $29,615. We did an appraisal and also did a survey. And so the total expenses that the CRA incurred was $417,026.07. So the offer is in fact more than what the CRA has expended to date on this property. At this point, I'd like to just turn it over to the city attorney, and he can walk you through the purchase and sale agreement if you have specific questions about that document.
Mr. Manzares.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Andre did a good job explaining to you the general terms, and they're still on your board. As you recall, one of the focuses of the city, well, actually of the CRA with regard to this particular property, was to get it redeveloped and back on the tax rolls as quickly as possible. And that was one of the reasons why you decided, we believe, as recalled during the last conversations on this item, you went with this group. The potential buyer in this has agreed to a provision in the agreement that essentially would require them to be up and running with a restaurant, cafe, bar, or entertainment purposes use in the facility with a certificate of occupancy within a year after the closing date. And if they don't, then the CRA at that point would have the option of buying the building back for the purchase price of $450,000. So we felt that that was appropriate to put in the agreement to get them moving forward and to ensure that the building gets used for the purposes intended by this agency. I can answer any questions you might have, but the key points are still on your screen. $450,000 purchase price, 45-day due diligence, a 45-day close thereafter. So it is a pretty quick close. And we, as I think Andre pointed out, we are recommending you proceed with approval.
Vice Chair, want to take over?
Yeah, I think we might have lost Nathan there. Well, I had a question for, I guess, Dan and Andre on that screen you just had up there. Now, when we were negotiating, did the screen go away, like the shared screen that Andre had? Or is it just on my view?
No, it went away. There you go.
Basically, when we were going over this $450,000 and we wanted to cover all the costs, but when you read the contract that was attached in the agenda package, there are closing costs and other costs. I don't have it in front of me because I only have the one screen here. But there were costs in that contract that we are paying at the time of closing that are out, so is this 417 the real number?
You're correct. The agreement provides for the seller to pay the typical seller closing costs. So there actually will be some costs included on this. It won't exceed the I guess the delta between the offer and the total amount on your screen, but there will be some additional costs on it. I would estimate that the additional costs would probably be from a closing perspective, somewhere in probably the $7,000 to $8,000 range.
Okay.
Mr. Manzares, the difference between the 450 offer and the 417,026 that we've incurred is 32,973.
That's just based on the table that you have there, Andre, but there's additional costs that are going to be at closing was what I was asking.
Oh, I understand. I just wanted to let you know what the delta was.
Right. Okay, well, so I don't think the mayor came back on. So are there any other comments from council members?
Deputy Mayor, can I also add Mr. Parsons had intended to participate, and it doesn't appear that he's able to. He's in transit from South Georgia, and I was trying to see if he had got online, but he did provide a statement that he wanted to at least offer into the record that I could read if you will allow me.
Sure, absolutely.
So the statement was that he offered was that I plan on moving forward with the purchase. However, the COVID-19 situation added a tremendous amount of uncertainty to this project. Forecasting our new normal in the bar and restaurant industry is difficult. Upon the execution of the contract, we will be working hard during the 45-day due diligence period to evaluate the cost of construction. We will also work closely with Shelley Watson and Internet Forbes to iron out specifically what brands we can count on in the 2020-2021 budgets. We have drawings available to introduce our vision for the property. The newest feature will include a sheltered outdoor dining area with new restrooms. This dining area will be built on the vacant lot adjacent to the building along 10th Street. The expansion should help with exposure along 10th Street and will provide a complementary feature for the new hotel and 10th Street produce. For the CRA board members, Shelley and Andrew have my and Ray's contact information. If you would like to discuss more specifics about the property with either of us, they can share our info. Call us anytime. So that was his written statement.
Okay. Do we take public comment on this, Mr. Manzares?
Yes, ma'am, you should, if there's anybody here to address it.
I'm sorry, there was no one registered and no one is in the council chambers at the moment for public comment.
Okay, great. Well, I see the mayor's back. Can you hear us, Nathan?
Go ahead and finish the item since you've already led it this far.
So, is there any discussion or motion by the board? And I can't see Dwight, so I don't know if he's.
I'm here. I got you on.
Second.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Ask you.
So motion to approve by Mr. Askew and a second by Mr. Trace. And so we'll take the vote.
Aye.
Oh, Jesse, are you gonna, do you do the roll call or we just all vote together?
You can all vote together if you like. You can just ask all in favor.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the motion passes.
Sorry for the glitch. That's the first time I've ever gotten kicked off. I don't know what happened. So that brings us to our second item, the second quarter financials. And Andre, will you be presenting that also?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. However, the next item should have been, well, I guess it is a quarter, but I'll skip to that. So this is our second quarter financials. It is for the period January through March. And in the first column, you see what's budgeted for fiscal year 1920. And the total is approximately $2,364,288. And the balance is $1,939,932.71. In the personnel line, we budgeted approximately $153,000, of which we expended $38,000 in second quarter. Year-to-date total is $63,487 for a balance of $90,184.83. For operational activities, we budgeted $484,150. Expended in this quarter $85,786.12. Year-to-date expenditures $143,722 for a balance of $343,779.78. For grants and projects, we budgeted $425,000. Nothing was expended in second quarter. Year-to-date is $70,497.90 for a balance of $354,502.10. For contingency, we have $1,151,466. Nothing expended in second quarter and nothing expended year to date. We still have the balance of $1,151,466. And then for intergovernment transfer, we budgeted $150,000. Nothing was expended in the second quarter because we expended all of it at once. So year to date is $150,000 with no balance under intergovernmental transfer. And that is the presentation of the financials. Sure.
A question.
Yes, Councilmember Thiene.
Thank you. Andre, when we sell this property and the money comes back into our coffers, which line does that go under?
Well, it would probably go under operations because it was under that category that we spent the money from. But since it's additional funds, it would probably go into the contingency. I mean, it could go into contingency.
Well, it can't go into both. So
No, I'm saying that's what
it
it was spent. It was spent from operations, but it can go into contingency.
Okay.
So
Mr. Thiene,
the
you
money
have anything
doesn't have to go, I'm sorry, so the money doesn't have to go back into the fund it was expended out of?
It's still going back all to CRA. So I maybe Mr. Mensers can offer some assistance, but I don't know.
The answer to the question that Councilman Matheny is, we'll probably have to look at it and get with the finance folks and say, typically you are correct that usually the money goes back into the fund and out of which it came. And but we'll have to take a closer look at that. I don't think Andre or I have that answer right now.
Okay,
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Matheny?
that's it.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak to this item or online? Madam Clerk, I assume no. Then we'll move on to our next item, the 2019 CRA Annual Report. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a required document that we are obligated to prepare at the end of every fiscal year. And these annual reports are typically due March 31st. However, with everything else that was going on with the current situation with the COVID-19, we were delayed in getting this presented to you. We, however, were in contact with the state and with the county to let them know that this would, in fact, not meet the required deadline of March 31st, and they did not have a concern with that. This annual report is for the period ending September 2019, and the information that's presented in this report is taken from the city's comprehensive annual financial report. And what it shows is that we are in fact balanced as far as assets and liabilities for the CRA. As far as improvements that have been made within the CRA, we did a comparison to show that in 2005, the assessed values for properties within the CRA was in the neighborhood of $148,563,458. And in 2019, the assessed values was $193,531,537. This is essentially a 30% increase in assessed values. Some of the highlights of this plan is the downtown revitalization phase 1 that was completed for New York Avenue. That cost us approximately $1.95 million. And then in addition, we also did the purchase of the Makinson building, and the purchase price plus the stabilization repairs, as I discussed a minute ago, was approximately $417,000, and the purchase price, or the sale price, I should say, is $450,000. In addition, we have provided some grants and aids in the amount of $160,215. We also added the public safety component to the CRA, where we hired 3 CRA officers, Officer Wager, Officer Badman Payton, and Officer Reddit. And this is costing us approximately $174,000 annually. In addition, we also provide some funding to the St. Cloud Main Street as part of our community and civic organizations in the amount of $60,000. Some of the goals that we plan to look at for 2020 include working more with the strategic property acquisition program. We also are looking to do some updates to the CRA master plan to better address some architectural requirements in light of the architectural design standards that were adopted a couple years ago. In addition, we are finalizing, or will be finalizing in this year, the Medical Arts Campus, or the MAC overlay district. And we are also getting ready to begin the downtown revitalization phase 2, which generally encompasses portions of 10th Street and portions of Pennsylvania Avenue primarily. And then we're also working on a more formalized downtown business recruitment plan. And additionally, we will be revisiting the idea of the CRA extension, given the fact that we have, I think, less than 13 years for the CRA to sunset, and possibly looking also again at whether we want to expand the boundaries. So that generally is the overall presentation of the annual report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
First of all, is there anyone online who would like to ask a question? Or in the audience? I don't see any. We'll open up to
No,
any
sir,
questions.
there's no one registered and no one is in the council chambers for this item.
Thank you very much, Ms. Light. Ms. Matheny, Councilmember Matheny.
I actually do have something to say, but Andre, do we still have? I know for a while we were struggling with the outstanding grants that we gave to some of the businesses and just like closing those out and getting them paid and checking. Do we still have those any outstanding grants?
Not any outstanding ones. I think we have new ones that on the next few slides we'll be talking about in a minute. But as of now, we don't have any grants that are, I guess, delinquent or struggling with.
So all the ones that we had that we were struggling with, that like paying them and them taking checks and getting all the work done, those have all been closed out?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions? Mr. Trace, Councilmember Trace.
And I don't have it with me, so I didn't have a chance to look this up, but on the CRA master plan, do we have any gateway elements as part of that? I just wanted to know if the goal for 2020 for revising the CRA master plan included something about gateway elements.
Yes, we do. And in fact, one of the CRA boundaries is called the Gateway District. And so, yes,
Okay.
It does have provisions, and we will work on that. When we were looking at the downtown gateway, we mentioned that right now we don't have any kind of indication of how you get into downtown. And so that was one of the concerns. And in addition, there's no sense of arrival, whether it's on the east side or on the west side. So those are items that we will be addressing as part of the CRA master plan update.
Perfect, thank you.
Do you have anything else? Does anyone else wish to speak? Mr. Manzares, do we need to vote on these reports?
Yeah, we're looking for an approval of the CRA annual report. So yes, sir.
All right. Could I have a motion for the approval of the 2019 CRA annual report?
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Matheny. Do I have a second?
Second, Askew.
I have a second from Councilmember Askew. Can we just have a consensus on this? A vote, verbal vote?
Well, you just call for a vote, Mayor, just all in favor.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone oppose? And it so carries. Mr. Anderson, do you have anything else for us?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to give you a quick update on the building and site improvement grants. We have a grant that was submitted back in October of 2019 for the applicant was 10074 Florida Avenue LLC. The request amount was for $16,295, and the board awarded that amount. We have budgeted $75,000 in that line with a balance of $58,705. And then we received an application from Southland Plaza Inc. Back March 6th. Their request is for $38,719, and that is under review to be brought back to you for approval of an award. So if that is awarded, our balance will be $19,986 left for building and site improvement grants.
Okay. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak to those items?
No one's registered and no one is in the council chambers for this item.
Thank you very much. Would the council members like to speak to this item or ask any questions?
This is Dwight, member loading.
Go ahead.
Southland Plaza Incorporated. Do we have an address or what is that?
Yes, Southland Plaza, if I recall, is the plaza with the Save-A-Lot on
Okay.
13.
Yeah, just because, you know, I see Southland Plaza, but I don't know what it is, where it is. I guess I just
Yeah,
want to know.
I apologize. We should have put it in your packet so you would see it. I
Okay.
will push it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Loading. Do you have any other questions? Anyone else? I assume these are items that we need to vote for approval of.
No, these have already been approved. This is just informational
Just an
items.
update, no reapproval. Okay, thank you. You have anything else for us, Mr. Anderson?
No, I do not.
At this time, do any of the CRA board members have anything that you would like to address or bring up? Mr. Trey, Councilmember Trace.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwell. I didn't know if anyone had an update on the Kisselback. I forget what I think we approved doing an appraisal at the last meeting, so I didn't know if there was any update on that.
Mr. Sturgeon, could you speak to that? Or Mr. Anderson one? Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, City Manager. Mr. Chairman, I did have a conversation with Mr. Kisselback, and he provided some updates, one of which was he was able to rescind his offer to purchase the property on the east side due to the fact that the due diligence period was running out and he did not finalize any plans to sell his current property. And we have also received from him a copy of his appraisal for the 5 parcels, which was appraised, I think he was at 5.8 million. And when we received the appraisal, it was at 5 million. So there is a difference of at least $800,000 in terms of the appraisal price. He is still interested in having discussions with us. However, due to the current environment and slow sales and such, he is moving forward in a much more cautious manner, in that he still has the ability to re-engage the property on the east side. However, he is trying to first evaluate his financial situation with his current dealership and figure out how he needs to proceed moving forward. He did get approval from the Ford Motor Company to move to that new location, so that is no longer a challenge. However, he just needs to make some decisions on how he wants to proceed, but he is still very interested in having discussions with us, and we are also equally interested in having further discussions with him. At the time that we made the presentation to you, the city manager was able to receive support from both, I think, Main Street as well as the chamber for the CRA to proceed with discussions to potentially purchase this property. And city manager can speak more if he has anything further to add.
Mr. Trace, do you have any questions? Okay. Are there any other discussions or any questions regarding the Kisselback property?
Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Raskew.
Yeah, I would just like to, it's, with everything going on, let's just keep that line of communication open with Mr. Kisselback. if nothing happens in the next month or two or whatever, I would just like to make sure that we're doing the right thing and keep that conversation going. So I'm hoping that the city manager will keep it going for us, and then maybe we come out of this a little bit better. We can make a better decision towards in a month or two, maybe.
Oh, I would certainly concur with that. Mr. Sturgeon, would you like to speak to that?
No, that's a great idea. I think we should keep those lines of communication open. There is a gap between his appraisal and ours, obviously. As you know, legally, we can't accept or purchase the property for the less than appraised value, or more than the appraised value. I'm sorry. So I will continue those discussions with Mr. Kisselbeck, and hopefully we'll have some clearer economic forecasts in the next 45 to 60 days.
I sure hope so. That's a big disparity in two different appraisals, for sure. This Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. I think we need like a little like red piece of paper you hold up, like, hey, we want to.
Or just say, may I speak? That's all you got to do.
Well, the thing I was going to mention was typically you get a third appraisal is what you would do. You would get a review appraisal. So if we were going to move forward with it, I mean, it's not unusual to have the discrepancies between. Usually you get a third. So, and I'm sure there's ways, I know the city manager said you can't buy more than appraised, but I know there's ways to work through these situations when you have discrepancies. But I'm up for keeping the lines of communication open. I also want to throw back out into the universe. One of my original comments was, if we don't buy this site, could we maybe reach out to them and get additional right of way or sign corner clips or anything that we would need either on New York or Pennsylvania to like make our entry features better. Even if we don't get the site, maybe there's a way to look into those kind of features. So that was just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Would any of the other council members or board members wish to speak? If not, we'll go to the public comment section. Is there anyone in the public who wants to speak?
There's no registered, no one registered, and no one is in the council chambers at this time to speak for this item.
Thank you, Ms. Light. Brings us to item
Chairman
number 8.
Blackwell.
Yes.
May I be recognized?
Yes, sir. Please
Yes,
do
sir.
so.
I confirm with the finance director that upon the closing and sale of the Makinson's building, that money would go into contingency.
Okay. Thank you very much for that clarification. Our next CRA meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June the 4th at 2020. There's no other items on our agenda, and if there are no objections, we will consider this CRA meeting adjourned. Do y'all need a brief break, or can we move forward? I see no objections.
Well, Mayor, we need to switch out the clerk, and I don't know if they're ready to do that.
Yes, we need a break, please.
All right, let's take about a 5-minute break, okay?
Thank you.